The Library of Forgotten Dreams. The night began in silence, the kind of silence that seemed almost alive, humming faintly under the skin. Elara sat at her window, staring into the fog that curled across the empty town square. She had always been drawn to quiet places, and lately the silence seemed to call her name. Her grandmother used to whisper about a place where forgotten things went, a library not made of stone or wood, but of memory itself. Elara had dismissed it as bedtime fancy, but now the thought clung to her like dew to grass. She lit the lantern her grandmother left her, its flame glowing a strange bluish hue, and felt her breath hitch. The flame bent, as though tugged by some unseen wind. She rose and followed. The streets wound endlessly, fog closing in, but the flame knew the way. At last, she reached an iron gate she had never seen before. Carved into its arch was an inscription. Every dream unremembered waits within. The gate creaked open at her touch. Beyond lay a grand staircase spiraling downward, lined with bookshelves so tall they disappeared into darkness. Lanterns floated in the air like fireflies, casting soft pools of light. The air smelled of ink and rain. "The library," Elara whispered, and the library whispered back. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. She descended, and with each step the silence grew richer, denser. At the bottom, an immense hall stretched before her, shelves upon shelves stacked with books, scrolls, and strange bottles that shimmered faintly as though filled with life. At the far end, a desk stood, and behind it an ancient librarian whose eyes gleamed like mirrors. "You've come late," the librarian said, his voice both kind and stern. "But the library has been expecting you." Elara swallowed. "What is this place?" "A home for dreams that were forgotten, abandoned, or lost. Every thought you failed to remember, every story cut short, every hope left behind, they wait here, trapped in pages and bottles. Some fade, some sleep, and some whisper for release." He handed her a small book bound in glass. Inside, she saw her own childish handwriting, stories she had scribbled years ago, then torn up in shame. Yet here they were, whole again. "You remember now," the librarian murmured. "That is why you can enter. But be careful. Not every dream wishes to be remembered." As if to prove his words, one of the bottles on the shelf nearby cracked. A soft, keening sound slipped into the air, and the flame of her lantern trembled. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. In the days, or was it hours, that followed, Elara wandered through endless halls of memory. There were dreams, shaped like crystal birds, fluttering weakly against the glass of their jars. There were nightmares, too, slithering in chains, their bindings fraying with each whisper. One night, she came to a vast chamber filled with doors. Each bore a name. She paused before one that shimmered faintly in Elara. Heart pounding, she pushed it open. She found herself in a meadow of stars. Voices rose around her, fragments of her childhood wishes, half-remembered lullabies, promises she'd once made to herself. But among them came a darker voice, low, smooth, tempting. "You don't belong here," it hissed. "The forgotten must stay forgotten. Let us fade." From the shadows, a figure emerged. Tall, cloaked, faceless. The Shadow of Oblivion, the librarian would later name it. The very hunger that devoured memory and hope. Elara's lantern flickered, nearly extinguished. She fell to her knees, trembling. But then, faintly, she heard a familiar tune, her grandmother's lullaby, rising from the lantern's light. She remembered the warmth of that voice, the comfort it gave. She lifted the lantern high, and the shadow shrieked, retreating into the folds of the dream meadow. She stumbled back into the library, gasping. "You've awakened more than you know," the librarian warned. "The shadow stirs whenever a dream is claimed. If you continue, you may unravel the balance between memory and forgetting." But Elara could not stop. She felt the library's whispers curling around her heart. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. She grew braver, opening more doors. In one, she found a lost dream of her mother, the day they had meant to plant a garden together but never did. The dream bloomed into color as Elara touched it. Earth beneath her nails, sunlight on her skin, her mother's laughter. In another door, she found a forgotten story of the town itself. A carnival of light and music that once filled the square but had been erased from memory after tragedy struck. As she remembered it, the square outside the library flickered with color, as though waking from centuries of sleep. But with each dream restored, the shadow grew stronger. It prowled the halls now, tearing at bindings, breaking jars. Whispers rose into shouts, filling the library with clamor. The librarian grew weary. If too much is remembered, the world will drown in dreams. If too little, it will wither into silence. You must choose carefully, child. Ilara clenched her fists. Then I will find balance. I won't let them fade, and I won't let them consume us. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. The final night came when the shadow broke free. The library shook as shelves toppled, books burst into flame, and bottled dreams shattered. The shadow swelled, black as ink spilled across the sky. It lunged at Ilara, tearing the lantern from her hands. The flame sputtered, nearly gone. She fell to her knees, clutching the small glass book the librarian had given her, the one filled with her childhood stories. In it, she saw the girl she had been, full of wonder, who once believed in magic. Tears blurred her vision. "I remember," she whispered. "I remember it all." The flame flared back to life, brighter than ever, fed not by the lantern but by her heart. She rose, holding the book and lantern together. Light burst forth, flooding the library. One by one, the dreams rose, glowing like fireflies, weaving together into constellations. The shadow screamed as it unraveled, fading into dust. When the silence returned, it was different, gentler, filled with the hush of pages turning, of dreams breathing again. The librarian bowed his head. "You have restored balance, but the library will always need a keeper." Ilara hesitated, then smiled faintly. "Then I will keep it. Not alone, every dreamer will." She walked to the great gates. As she stepped out, dawn broke over the town square. And for the first time in years, the bells tolled, their echoes carrying 1,000 half-remembered songs. Somewhere deep below, the library slept, not forgotten but waiting, alive in every heartbeat, every dreamer's sigh, every whisper in the dark. And Ilara knew she would never be alone again.